welcome back to episode 8 of Bull or Brill. I'm joined as per usual by Brandon from Cyber Guys. How are you?
Well, thanks, Taylor.
Well, there's a new government incentive giving businesses $20,000 towards cybersecurity. Can you give us a bit more information on that?
Absolutely, yeah. So the government wants you to be cyber secure.
Of course.
Obviously. So any business, regardless of your size, can always do something to better protect their data. And government grants go a long way to do that because they're I know this is a Bull or Brill episode and we're not talking about this, but there is a myth out there that cybersecurity is too expensive. It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
So leveraging whatever grant is available is a really, really good idea.
And that's something that people can spend with Cyber Guys?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so at Cyber Guys we specialise in people risk.
Sure.
We do the technology. That's part of the core brief of being a cybersecurity company.
Yeah.
But in small businesses with less than 50 employees, the threat is going to come from the people rather than the technology.
So the Victorian government's actually come out with a user awareness training program, I guess. How do you differentiate yourselves from them?
Oh, modules.
Modules.
Great. Module training is just a part of an overall strategy. You cannot just have one type of training within an organisation because you can do your modules, you'll be bored out of your mind, you'll forget half of it as you're doing it. It won't really make that much of a difference. What we do at Cyber Guys is, of course, we have our own modules. That, as I said, that's a very important part of a strategy. But we have other type of training as well that complements the module training that you do as well.
Okay.
So module training is a good idea.
Sure.
It's not the total answer though.
Okay.
There's no silver bullet, as I keep saying.
Yeah. Well, speaking of module training, today I got officially certified as a Cyber Warden. I'm so proud of this. No, I'm just joking.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You got a piece of paper for scrolling to the bottom.
Literally, I just speed ran it. I don't think I even clicked on a link in it.
That's right. Everyone in your organisation should be a Cyber Warden. It shouldn't be reliant on one snitch to be your organisational cyber safety officer. Everyone needs to be a Cyber Warden in their organisation. And at Cyber Guys, we create more than just wardens. We create people that have the knowledge and skills to identify and remediate cyber risk. We don't just make them read an article.
So this is bull.
This is bull.
Shall we shred it?
We should shred it.
Okay.
That's some tasty bullshit today.
A pre-podcast shredder. I don't think we had that before.
No.
Let's hopefully we don't have to do more of those.
I hope not.
So today we're going to be discussing Shadow IT. What is Shadow IT before we get started?
Shadow IT is essentially, if you think of a guy in the office that thinks he's really good at IT and he's the go-to guy for fixing problems, that's what Shadow IT is. Someone that thinks they know what they're doing, but in fact they could be doing a lot more harm than good.
Okay, well, that leads us into our first myth of Shadow IT only involves software.
It's tempting for individuals to go ahead and diagnose something within an organisation. Sometimes it involves software, sometimes it involves hardware that displays itself as a software issue. Shadow IT can be anything relating to IT. So unless you are actually a trained professional in this industry that has more than just, oh, I'm really good at computers behind them, that is what I define as Shadow IT. Not just about software.
Okay, so that includes hardware as well. So like people bringing in their own phones or...
That's right. One of the examples I often go to when it involves Shadow IT involving software is people bringing in their own wireless routers in offices that ban wireless.
Okay.
That's a big no-no.
Sure.
If you are tempted to try and take IT under your own wing, you're putting your company at a hell of a lot of risk.
Okay.
Because IT needs a complete image of your organisation. You cannot just rely on, IT to look after your core systems and then everyone else take care of everything. IT needs to be aware of everything because it's IT's job to keep you safe, to give the cybersecurity officials the information that they need to protect the customer.
Sure.
So by someone in the middle going, oh, I think I know better than companies' policies, you're really sabotaging that relationship because IT may be investigating something that they're not aware is there.
Yeah.
Till it's too late.
Yeah, I suppose you can't test something that they don't know about as well.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, we'll shred that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next up, we have connecting my phone to the work Wi-Fi is harmless. Right.
Mobile phones are generally a lot safer
Okay.
than, say, a traditional computer.
Sure.
That's just built into their nature.
Yeah.
But phones get malware too.
Yeah.
Phones get data compromised as well. So by bringing an external device into your office that isn't sanctioned and governed by your IT department, again, you're putting your company at huge risk.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Is there any form of like compliance issues as well that you could be opening your business up to by having shadow IT?
It depends on the industry.
Yeah.
So certainly in a lot of professional industry bodies, if you have someone that tries to do something that's against the information security requirements of your professional association, then absolutely. If you've got someone plugging rogue wireless access points in, that could be a compliance breach.
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right.
So generally, I say where you can avoid plugging external devices into your network. And if you can't avoid doing that, create a separate network within your internal network for those external devices to access the internet so that they stay off your corporate network.
Like a guest network.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Sure. All right. Well, we'll get rid of that one.
Yeah.
On a roll today. So next up, we have shadow IT comes from well-meaning employees.
That's true.
Okay, that's nice.
Employees are good people.
Yeah.
They want to do the right thing by their bosses. They want to do the right thing by their colleagues. They don't mean to do the wrong thing. So I know we're demonising shadow IT, but employees are trying to do the right thing. It's just a matter of sometimes shadow IT causes more problems than it solves. So I'm not trying to demonise people trying to do the right thing by their boss.
Yeah.
Times are tough in small business. So the temptation to cut cost is always present.
Yeah.
And it's important to recognise that IT is more than just an expense within an organisation. It is the organisation nowadays. So if you have people trying to cut costs for an IT department and you outsource that to the kid in the office that seems to be really good with computers, you know, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, I can see also where it comes from. Like, if your company is behind the times, like I used to work for a company that still to this day uses fax machines. And so customers don't have fax machines and we could either call them on the phone. If we needed to send them a picture, we'd have to do it from our own personal devices. So I guess I can see, you know, that it's not just us being well-meaning, it's us literally just trying to do our jobs. So I can see
That's
how
right.
shadow IT can come from a place, like a good place, but yeah, it's not great.
It's really up to the employer
Yeah.
to start investing in this sort of thing. Employees, by and far, just want to do the right thing. But bosses that cut costs rigorously do their employees a disservice by doing that. Because it's the employees that bear that cost.
Of course. Yeah, I can see the flip of that as well, is that, you know, they should be investing in email, but they don't want to because they want to keep it all centralized. But then by us going away is now we have communication with the customer that no one else has access to. So I can see both sides of it. But yeah, it's just do better.
Yeah, just do better.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave that one there.
Yeah.
Cool. Banning shadow IT solves the problem.
No.
Okay.
If you've got a printer that doesn't print, Doing some basic troubleshooting steps yourself, like making sure it's plugged in, making sure your computer's on the network. They're good first steps, but once you get beyond just basic stuff, you need to ring IT. Banning something never solves anything, because it's human nature to go, oh, who are you to tell me what to do? Don't ban it. Just discourage it. Give your employees a little bit of freedom, but don't demonize your employees for ringing IT.
Yeah.
It is absolutely critical to involve IT when it comes to doing stuff.
So it's not a last resort, it's a when you need it sort of thing.
Yeah. And even if something's not working and you fix it in the end, let IT know what you did. Because we need to have a full picture of your network.
Sure.
We can't just have little fragments here and there.
Awesome. All right, we'll send that one to the Bull.
Yeah.
So we have Shadow IT saves a company money.
It can,
Yeah.
but it's probably not going to.
Okay.
Again, if you have shadow IT in an organisation and they do something dodgy, something that is way against best practice nowadays, and your company's breached for that reason. So I keep going back to the access point because it's a really good example. An access point is an entry into an organisation. Company access points are a lot more complicated than, say, a residential one.
Okay.
If you put a residential router within an organisation and it's never updated, never patched, just sits there, that's a vulnerability that IT doesn't know about. And if your data gets compromised because of that, it's not really going to save you any money. It's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
So no, it doesn't save you money.
All right, we'll call that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, short and sharp. And we've touched on this one a little bit, but our final myth is shadow IT can help drive productivity and innovation.
Bull.
Okay, I thought it was going to go the other way.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Well, say you have a problem, i.e., like I said before, having to use fax machine and unable to communicate with customers outside of fax or phone, right? And then as staff members, we took it upon ourselves to, text or email pictures to customers, and likewise, like it was a retail shop, so I need to identify this part, save them driving an hour in, whatever.
Yeah.
Then we could take that solution to head office and be like, hey, we really need email in store so that we can communicate with customers visually when needed.
Yeah. Okay. I take that point.
Yep.
But what if you're sick that day?
What day?
The day after the customer sends you an image.
Yeah.
And you're away from the office.
Yeah, but if it's like a one email account for the whole shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's wrong with that? So everyone has access to it.
You tell me. What do you think the issue with that would be?
No accountability and no idea who's sending what where.
That's right.
Right.
So you're not really driving productivity there. You're just dancing around a problem.
Okay.
Productivity is about saving people time by having employees reliant on their own personal devices in a shadow IT sense. In that particular sense, you could make the argument that you're saving time, but if a customer comes in, they're going to expect the whole shop to know what you're talking about, even if you weren't the person they were talking to over the phone. So are you really saving any productivity by doing that?
I suppose.
It doesn't help drive productivity.
Okay.
It is up to employees to voice their frustrations to their employers.
Right.
And it's up to employers to facilitate the resources for employees to do their jobs in a safe, sanctioned way.
Sure.
So no, it doesn't really drive productivity.
There you go. Well, shred that one.
Yeah.
So, before we finish, I would like to just ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So, in your professional IT career, where have you seen shadow IT go wrong?
All the time.
Okay.
So we've already touched on one scenario where an employee has brought their own access point in.
Yeah.
The end result of that actually was it was using what's called WPA encryption, which is compromised, essentially. And someone sat in their car, got in through that compromised access point. And of course, the company was using their company name as the administrator password on the server.
Yeah.
And they installed ransomware.
Okay.
It's just so that there's that scenario, but I mean, shadow IT can cause all sorts of problems, like productivity tools, for instance. So I often see people use little micro tools like reducing the size of a PDF or converting an image, not really vetting the service that they're at, that they're going with. And essentially what's happened is malware has been embedded within these documents.
Okay.
I get the appeal
Yeah.
of letting people install stuff
Yeah.
on their own machines, go about it their way. But IT really needs to be a top-down approach. You cannot allow the bottom up to dictate your cybersecurity policy or IT governance policy, for that matter, because the bottom doesn't know anything. Truly. It is up to IT and executives to determine the policy and to communicate that down. So the temptation of new management to involve sideways and down, up, to create a flat management structure, that may be all well and good for the organisation itself, but IT, you can't do that.
Where do you stand with communication tools like Slack or Messenger or Teams?
They have their place.
Yeah.
Business pages still use those sort of things.
Sure.
They're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Just try and keep it within the company.
Okay.
The temptation to take company information outside of a controlled environment is there, but again, it's a bit of a risk to do that. Okay. So stick to the communication platform that your company chooses.
Sure. And then, so say you own a business, you have a couple of employees. How would you go about detecting shadow IT and then monitoring it and, I guess, mitigating it?
There's a couple of ways to go about it.
Okay.
Back in the old days, we used to be able to enforce policies to detect and remediate against shadow IT through the company server. Nowadays, those roles have been deferred to cloud services like Microsoft 365. So we can push a whole bunch of policies through that. Ensuring that employees don't have administrator accounts on their local machines. That's a big one because they can often install some tools, but not all tools. So tools that have been validated universally are generally fine to go on it, but it's those little tools.
The micro tools you were talking about
the micro tools,
Yeah.
yes. The ones that require traditional installation, that enforcing policies through a cloud service or a server would stop that.
Okay.
And finally, managed services and remote monitoring. So IT departments can install pieces of software to detect that sort of behaviour and inform managers.
Sure. And then is there any steps that you would recommend a business takes to kind of prevent these things from happening in the first place? Like, say you don't have a dedicated IT department, you're just a bit like a business owner, you have 1 or 2 employees. Is there anything that you would really want to drive home to them to do to stop this?
One of the things I would really encourage everyone to do, if you're a micro business like that, 1 to 2 employees, invest in getting your employees company governed devices.
Okay.
Use the stuff you already pay for.
Yeah.
So if you are subscribing to Google or Microsoft 365, you're already paying for these governance tools. So use them. Keeping company information contained in its own little bubble is a great first step for that. And find a really good IT company.
Okay.
A really good IT company is not going to say, oh, she'll be right.
Okay.
A good IT company is going to say, okay, you've got this, this, and this. These are your risks. This is how we mitigate the risk.
Okay.
So IT is very much a numbers game on the likelihood of problems and solutions.
So if you are like a micro company, 1 to 2 employees plus yourself, is there really any harm in having someone with basic IT knowledge in the company giving advice?
It's not a bad idea
Yeah.
to have someone with a base level of knowledge,
Yeah.
but don't take it as gospel.
Okay.
Still run it by IT.
Sure. Okay.
We do this stuff for a living. We've been doing it for decades. We know what we're talking about. Someone in the office that's just good at computers is not an IT professional.
Okay.
There's a reason you hired them, and it wasn't IT.
Yeah.
So make them stick to their jobs and let us do ours.
So that leads me on to my final question is, if you don't have a dedicated IT department, is there any sort of external or kind of casual services that people can access to get this IT help?
Absolutely. So we work with Terranet and Afford IT predominantly to really help these small organisations understand their risk.
Okay.
Terranet in particular focuses on redundancy and business continuity in the event of a disaster. So there are really good IT companies out there. So if you need referrals for IT companies, we have contacts all over Australia to be able to refer you to.
Okay.
So just get in touch with us.
Sure, that sounds like a good option. And I know that they do like tailored packages as well that make it really affordable for businesses to be able to access these services.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any sort of personal IT services as well that you'd recommend?
Look, at the end of the day, just practice good cyber hygiene.
Yeah.
The same sort that you would do at work. So don't download dodgy software.
Yeah.
I'm going to be abrupt here. Don't watch on your work computer.
What about becoming a cyber warden?
Becoming a cyber warden, it's not a bad idea, but are you really going to read these huge articles? No. It's going to go in one ear and out the other. Just do the right thing on the computers. Check your emails are actually legitimate. Trust no one online.
Yeah.
And back up your data.
Sure. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for that. I learned some things today, which is cool.
Great.
Not that I don't learn normally, but no, I learned some new things, so that's always good. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining us on today's episode of Bull or Brill. I'm Taylor and this is Brandon. Yeah, thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.